Our committee meetings to order for the Tennessee Board of Regents. My name is Emily Reynolds. I serve as Vice Chairman of the Board. And on behalf of all of our regents, I want to thank Dr. Wise and his incredible team for the morning we've had here at Pellissippi State. Not only did you order up perfect Tennessee fall weather on this beautiful day.
East Tennessee.
East Tennessee. East Tennessee.
Thank you.
Now you're getting picky. East Tennessee. Beautiful fall weather on this day. But we all feel a very warm welcome on this incredible campus. A number of us had a chance to take a tour to see these marvelous facilities. We went in a couple of classrooms on an impromptu basis where faculty and students were very proud to show their work and all the good things going on here. And I will say, when we have a chance to be on our campuses, I know it puts an extra spring in all of our steps, because at the end of the day, that's what it's really all about. So it is our honor to be here, and we'll hear more from Dr. Wise later and over the course of these 2 days. I also want to mention our Maxine Smith Fellows who are participating in our board meeting the next 2 days. A group of 10 on this 10th anniversary of the Fellows program. This class, as I'm sure the non-preceding classes, insists that they are the best of the bunch. And we have, they have finished 2 days of their presentations, the culmination of their 8 months of work in the Fellows program. They are a remarkable group of individuals, and to our board, as you have a chance to visit with them while we're here, please do so, and we are honored to have you with us today, so thank you. Thank you. We also have, thanks to our governor's excellent judgment, 4 outstanding new members of our board to acknowledge this morning. And I will begin with Barbara Prescott, who is here at the podium for her committee meeting. Barbara comes to us from Memphis. She is the executive director of People First Partnership, which is the education and talent arm of Memphis Fast Forward. So you can see she brings incredible credentials to our work here. She is also someone who could be very helpful to us as a licensed professional counselor, and she operated a private counseling practice for 30 years. Here too, exactly. Barbara is very active in her community, and the wisdom she will bring to us from her service on the Memphis City School Board and on the Tennessee School Boards Association, because as our friend Randy Boyd, who chairs the THEC Commission, would say, it isn't just K through 12, it is K through J, through job. And Barbara, probably more than any of the rest of us, understands that seamless transition. So welcome, and what would you like to share about yourself?
Oh, my. Just very pleased to have this appointment and very honored, and again, very interested in the whole continuum of developing our talent. And just if I could take one little liberty for these fellows, I served on the Memphis School Board with Maxine Smith, and she was, I always said that she taught me how to be a board member. She was a lovely person, as well as just a very brilliant mind, and always worked on behalf of students and children of all ages up through adults. So very nice to see you.
Thank you for saying that, and welcome. Lee Shockey, also from Memphis, will join us up here later as we proceed through our committee meetings. Where is Lee? There she is. Good afternoon. Lee is the CEO and chairman of Drexel Chemical Company. She currently has a big job chairing the Memphis Chamber of Commerce. She too is very active in her community on a lot of fronts, and we'll look forward to welcoming Lee officially up here in just a little bit. But we're glad you're on board. And finally, 2 very important roles that are played on this board and that give us valuable perspective, and that's our faculty regent and our student regent. And joining us also from West Tennessee, from New Bern, is Dottie Webb, who has been at our TCAT in New Bern, I think for about 16 years now. Is that right? So Dottie is we have our Skills USA folks here today, and Dottie is the chapter advisor, I believe, for Skills USA. And she was also named one of the Skills USA Advisors of the Year, I guess just last year. Do I have that right? What else do we need to know about you, my friend?
I just want to say thank you for the invitation to be here today. I love looking out in the crowd and seeing all of the red jackets. That's especially an organization that's kind of dear to my heart. And just I look forward to the opportunity to serve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service. And Rebecca Reeves, where is Rebecca now? There she is. Oh, she's sitting right next to Lee. There we go. And we'll officially welcome you up here in a little bit too. Rebecca is our student regent. She is a junior at our Lambeth campus of the University of Memphis, which is a very exciting venture that we have underway. But she's also a proud alum of Dyersburg State. And was the Student Government Association president there. So a great leader, a great smile, and we are proud to have her on our team. So thank you, and we'll see you in a little bit. So with that, oh no, I've got one more set of introductions.
Just go.
Important folks here today joining us for the afternoon. Each meeting, you'll recall, when we are on campuses, we have representatives from our local community colleges or TCATs, wherever we may be at that meeting. And today we have 2 representatives from Pellissippi State and 2 from our TCAT here at Knoxville. And so I will begin with our Pellissippi State representatives, Tyra Barrett, who is an associate professor of economics in the computer and technology department here at Pellissippi. And importantly, she is currently serving a 2-year term as president of the Faculty Senate here, which we all know is a very big, important job. She has received several awards for her excellent teaching here at Pellissippi. So thank you for joining us. And what may you share with us about your experience?
We're happy to have you here, and I've served on a committee before, the Finance Committee.
Oh, good.
So it's good to be back.
That's great. We're glad you're
you're
here.
here.
Thank you, Tyra. And SJ, who is Sarah Jessica Brewer, but goes by SJ, which is great, has found her way to Pellissippi from Paris, Tennessee, I understand. She is a student here in mass communication, and we just went through that department this morning and saw that fabulous television studio, and that was very impressive. She does hope to transfer to the University of Tennessee. Maybe we can keep her at a TBR school. Although we love our friends at UT, we certainly have a good collegial relationship. SJ has a number of student leadership activities here on campus, and I wanted to ask you about your service learning project in Good Food for All. What can you tell us about that?
I'm involved in the Good Food for All initiative where we have the community gardens. I've primarily volunteered at Pond Gap Elementary School. Basically what we're doing is educating all the children on how they can prepare good food, how they can have gardens, and what they do is they can actually take from that garden. They come and work for a certain number of hours, and they can take that home to their families, and also that food is used in many of the cafeterias, and even just, I think last week it was used here in Pellissippi's.
That's great. Very good. Very good. Thank you. That's an important initiative. So our applause for your efforts there, and welcome. Thanks, SJ. And from our Knoxville TCAT, under the direction of our friend Dwight Murphy, we have with us Michael Sledzinski. And Michael has a great story. He is a graduate of Tusculum College. He was in broadcasting and photography. He enrolled in our HVAC program at the TCAT in Knoxville. He then went on to work for big companies like Johnson Controls and York International. But he came back to our TCAT as a night instructor. Now he's the day instructor, and his placement rate is 100% in our HVAC program at the TCAT. He's done a brilliant job in working with local employers to design and specialize programs. And you are working, as I understand it, on a post-secondary HVAC program at Pellissippi's Strawberry Plains campus. What can you tell us about that?
It's kind of based on what we have at our campus, and I actually have an adjunct who, his name's Dan Gamble, and he'll probably be the one teaching that, hopefully. We'll see. He's teaching my night program right now. But it's designed on what we have in our lab, and what I believe in is something very learner-based, where it's we try to keep the books to a minimum and have them out in the lab more, because that's really more what I think the employers are looking for, is can they fix it and make us money?
That's
And
great.
That's the bottom line. And so far, everybody's been pretty happy. And so that's what I'm bringing there, is more of a tactile type learning environment.
That's
in
great.
that lab.
Well, we're not only proud to have you as a graduate, we're proud that you came back to us and are serving in such an important role. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, Ms. Kaylee Pritchard. who is from Maryville, Tennessee, not too far down the road. She is an athlete in softball and golf and was a student athlete trainer. Has received numerous awards for her work in her community, and she's in our Tennessee Achieves program, which is very exciting. I understand you're in the medical assistant program at our TCAT here in Knoxville, with the goal to further your education here at Pellissippi in as a medical assistant. Do I have that right?
Yes.
So what else can you tell us about you?
I love Tennessee Achieves. It's an excellent program because they not only care about your schooling, but they care about community service as well, which is a big part of my life. And they also care about just what you're doing in your normal everyday life. They take the time to get to know you, and they carry that along with you, not just while you're a Tennessee Achieves student, but while you're going through life, like continuing all the way until you get your job. And they keep up to date with you, and I just really appreciate that about them, and I love that about Tennessee Achieves.
Thank you. Well said. So 4 outstanding examples of our system, both faculty and staff, and you honor us with your presence today. I hope you will not be reluctant to speak up, ask a question, join in the conversation this afternoon as we go through our committee meetings, because again, your perspective is important to us. So our heartfelt welcome and thanks for all you do. I believe we also have in the audience the newest president in our system. Is Dr. White? Has she joined us yet from Austin Peay? There she is. Welcome, Elisa. Very good. Started in July at Austin Peay State University, and we welcome her home to Tennessee. She was a native Tennessean who somehow found her way to Tyler, Texas, and we found her and brought her back to Tennessee. So welcome. We appreciate your leadership, so thank you. With that, we have a busy afternoon underway, and I believe, Regent Varlin, you have all the members of your committee present with one exception, who could not be here with us this afternoon. But with that, I will turn the floor over to you for our TCAT committee meeting.
Okay,
Thank
thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair. And I also would like to extend my congratulations and welcome to all of you that are joining us from both Pellissippi State and, of course, TCAT Knoxville. And to reiterate, as Emily has said, that particularly at this particular meeting, we'll be talking a lot about TCATs because that's the committee meeting, and we would love to have your input and any questions. So please feel free, particularly in this particular meeting. So if we're ready to go, I guess we'll go ahead and start our meeting. So the first item on our agenda is the proposed program terminations, modifications, and new technical program implementations. And I'm going to ask Vice Chair Chancellor King to address these proposals at this time.
Well, Regent Varlin, before I get started, I would want to put our thoughts and prayers out to Regent Stites and his family. He can't be with us today, and the loss of his mother. And I, too, want to welcome the new board members, Ms. Dottie Webb, one of our own TCAT faculty, and Regent Prescott. Had a great pleasure of visiting the TCAT Memphis recently with the Secretary of Labor. Had a great day there. I want to share something that's rather interesting. It's hard to stand up here today, and I think this is the first time in 26 years that we've not had a KISPer sitting on this committee. Yeah. And that's amazing to think about.
For your audience, you may want to explain what a KISPer is.
Yeah. Jonas KISPer just rotated off the board, which served on the committee probably about 14 years or so. And his wife, Ms. Jane KISPer, chaired the TCAT committee for probably about another 14 years. Wow. And so it's pretty much in my entire system as a TCAT director and vice chancellor, I've had Ms. Jane KISPer, Mr. Jonas sitting on this one particular committee. It's I was thinking about that driving the other day. It's been that long. Yeah. Wow. And but we're going to miss them. As you know, our primary mission at the TCAT is workforce development. We focus every day on that mission by training our students to be excellent employees and strengthen the economic development in our communities. This mission requires us to be in constant communication with industry in our service area and to move quickly to address the workforce needs. These 13 program proposals and 23 academic actions presented to you today show our quick response to the needs of our students, business, and industries. Please note that a duplicate academic action item was listed. The transmittal said 24, but there's actually 23 action items. The proposals are as follows. And in health, allied health, we're implementing a pharmacy tech program at Jacksboro and implementing an emergency medical technician program at Livingston. The next is in the area of business, implementation of computer information technology program at Nashville at the Portland Extension campus. Modification of an administrative office technology program at Paris by offering the program as a hybrid. Modification of a digital graphics program statewide by changing the third trimester certificate to a diploma. The digital illustrator certificate will become a digital illustrator diploma. Modification of a health information technology program statewide by changing the name to Health Information Management Technology. In the area of advanced manufacturing, we're implementing a production automation technology program at McKinsey. Implementation of a tool and die program by TCAT Nashville at the Portland Extension campus. You'll see the next few are, we have recently acquired the what used to be the Portland Area Votech Center run by the secondary system. We acquired that recently, dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, and Nashville will be moving an extension campus to that center. It's about a 40,000 square foot center. We're getting at no cost, and the city and the county is renovating the facility at about $500,000 worth of renovation. So it's a pretty good bargain there. And implementing a building construction technology program at Portland, a machine tool technology program also at Portland, and an automated manufacturing technology program at Portland, and a welding. All of these will be operated by the TCAT Nashville. We're also modifying a welding technology program at New Bern by offering it as a hybrid program. So these are the areas that will require your approval because they're new program actions. And also listed in your book are 23 academic actions that were acted upon under my authority given by the board. And these were actions like inactivation of a program, slight modifications, name change, the approval of evening programs, a second shift. And those were done. There are 23 of those actions, and those are listed that I just wanted to share with you. It's information item only. Madam Chairman, the actions that need your approval are the first ones that I listed, the first 13. The committee has reviewed each one of these, and we recommend their approval.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? You've heard the proposed program proposals and academic actions. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, Parker, second?
Second.
All right, Ms. Markham. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise? Okay, the motion carries. The last item on the agenda, are we ready to go there? Okay. Skills USA presentation on national awards and recognitions received by the Tennessee Colleges of Applied Technology. And I would like Vice Chancellor King to remain with us and get started on that.
Madam Chair, you know, when we look at, this is titled the National Awards, but skills goes a lot further than that. You know, when we look at this organization, it's an integral part of our training programs. You know, when we started looking at this program in the late 90s, we realized that we were training good technicians. But one thing I thought was missing was those leadership skills, worker ethics, and no organization in this country does a better job in preparing our students for those leadership skills, getting them out front. And industry's begging for those type of skills every day. So I think being involved in this organization gives our students a chance to be well-rounded. You know, it has a huge community service component to it, gives our students, they're also becoming better citizens as a result of being in this organization. So the organization is all encompassing, but at the same time, these students are getting better jobs as a result of this. You know, the national championship contest floor, on the Thursday of the national championship, that is the largest single day of industry volunteerism in the country, that one day. Every contest is run by business and industry, and they're set up to industry standards. So it really, and it's interesting, we've actually had students hired right off the floor by judges. You think about it, the best job in the country are the judges at the national and state competition, because they firsthand get to see these students. My gosh, that's the best aviation student in the country. I want it. And we actually had that a few years ago in Morristown, a young man that won the state and was participating in aviation, and he was a silver medalist. The judge, a gentleman out of Houston, hired him right on the spot. He came to Morristown, got his picture made in the paper, and flew to Houston and took a $54,000 job right off the floor. So those are the type of things, and we have industry gets to interview these students there, and it happens at the state and the national level. So, so the organization is really deep in workforce development. I also want to share the 2 bronze pieces here. If you get a chance, please do not leave without looking at these 2 bronze sculptures here. Probably haven't noticed them yet. We brought those this morning because those are national championship sculptures right there. The teacher, Mr. Chris Chambers, please stand, Chris. Chris did something that skills in 50 years that no one else has ever done. Scott County has a strong dual enrollment program, has a great secondary base. So Chris has secondary students in his program, as well as adults. His secondary student won the state in welding sculpture. His post-secondary student won the state in welding sculpture. They both won the national championship under one teacher. So let's give him a round of applause. And if you take a look at these sculptures, they're made by students, and this has become one of the hottest contests at the national because everybody wants to tour and see these bronze sculptures. People try to buy them there. So it's, and you'll see these, and the 2 students will be recognized later. You know, not only is America facing a shortage of skilled technicians, but we're facing a shortage of technicians with leadership skills, soft skills, communications, and work ethics. These skills are important in today's workforce. Skills has been empowering its members to become world-class workers, leaders, and responsible citizens for over 50 years. We are celebrating the 50th anniversary. From the first meeting in 1965 with 200 participants to today with over 350,000 members. You think about that. And it is interesting, and I think I'm going to ask a gentleman to come forward later that I'm calling basically a national treasure as far as skills is concerned. The first meeting took place at the old Hermitage Hotel in Nashville. So the birthplace of Skills USA is Tennessee. And today on that location, TPAC sits. And there is a plaque as you walk in the door at TPAC on your right as you come in the door, recognizing that event in the halls of TPAC. And you know, today's national conference has over 15,000 students at that, and it's not only is changing students' lives, it helps close that skills gap by providing the leadership skills. So, as I said, over 50 years ago, 200 teachers and administrators held a conference in Nashville to establish an organization to represent trade and industrial education and serve the students' needs. Bill Prince represented Tennessee at that founding meeting in 1965. At that time, known as VICA, known today as Skills USA. Mr. Prince attended Kirkman Technical High School in Chattanooga. He was a charter member of the organization and later served a both state and national officer. He was one of the first national officers ever in Skills. He's a founder and life member of the Skills USA Alumni Association. He was also on the Skills USA national staff for 6 years, serving as a national leadership specialist and then as director of training and government relations. He was awarded the Honorary Life Award in 1985. Also, recently we had the pleasure, and that's why I brought Bill here today. Many of these students just came back from D.C. where they were at the Washington Leadership Conference, where it has students from all over I had 400 students representing all the states there for their leadership conference, and Bill spoke to that group. And I thought this was the opportunity, since we were going to be here in his hometown, he now lives in Knoxville, to get him here. Bill retired in 2000 following a successful career in public service and corporate government relations in D.C. Prior to the corporate world, Bill was a political appointee in Washington. He served as director for President Ronald Reagan's National Drug Policy Board until he retired. And he also served on the board of directors for the National Drug Prevention League. In 1998, he received the National Leadership Award. He is a veteran and a dear friend to Skills USA. Please welcome Bill Prince.
Thank you very much, James, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for allowing me to come and say thank you for your leadership and your opportunities that you have. I know you all have very busy schedules, but these students that you see in the red blazers over the years have been taught since 1965 to look, listen, and learn. And when they see people in positions such as yours, you can be sure that all of them are watching and listening and learning, because we've learned since 1965 how to do it right when it comes to bridging the gap between vocational education, or whatever it's called today, technical education, and the business and industry world, and also the opportunity to take those students and teach them not just to be good printers or good cosmetologists or good welders, but to be able to articulate, to be able to convince an employer that they can give 40 hours work for 40 hours pay. They understand the need to dress appropriately. They also understand what it takes to succeed in life. Now, when we began in 1965, some of you may not remember that time, some of you may, but those were trying times. And I grew up in a housing project, a government-funded housing project in East Chattanooga. And I remember specifically my guidance teacher saying, well, I guess you're not going to go to college, so you better go to Kirkman Tech and learn a trade. Well, that's what I did. But it's interesting in the fact that my printing instructor in that four-year technical high school with four-year programs made sure his students were placed in the world of work by the time they became juniors. So he had a pretty successful printing program. And at that high school in Chattanooga, we had about 43 different technical programs or occupational programs. When we went to Nashville in 1965, I had heard students from the rest of the states that were there, 24 states, and they all said the same thing. Our image needs to change. We can't just be looked at as second-class citizens any longer. We've got to stand up and speak up. And so we began doing that. And at that time, I thought that most of the people in the room had a good feeling about it, but we had no idea that this concept of a national student organization for trade and industrial education students, including at that time health occupations, would be able to survive. Vietnam was going hot and heavy. Also, we had just come off the civil rights activities of the 64 and 65 year that had made a lot of media. And we had two organizations in Tennessee. We had the Associated T&I Clubs of Tennessee, which was the white students, and we had the T&I Clubs of Tennessee, which were the African American students. And when we got together in that hotel in Nashville, it was the students that voiced the concern that the adults may not want to merge those two organizations. The students didn't have a problem with it. The students said, we'll just pick a year. Once we get it started, we'll have co-officers, co-presidents, co-vice presidents, and we'll just integrate the system and make it work. Well, it has worked. It has worked over 50 years. Now, he tells you, James has said 350,000 this year. But since that 200 in 1965, 11.6 million students have worn that red blazer. And in that red blazer, you have an individual who is equally committed to excelling in their occupational area and also perfecting leadership development. It's just as important to have the leadership development component. And this is the organization that is most successful at proving that that two-pronged approach does work, because we have been the most successful at bringing in business and industry. James has indicated that on that day in June when the national competition occurs, that it is the largest commitment by business and industry to volunteer to run those contests, design them, run them, and make the awards for those contests. And they are hiring a lot of the product that comes out of the educational system. But the thing that we need to remember as we go forward for our next 50 years is that the technology will continue to change, but the basic traits that make an employer a superior employer is the fact that they understand that they must be able to advance. Each year must be better than the year before, either in their occupational area or in their service to their community. So these students have an opportunity not just to excel at the TCAT, they will excel in their community. That you will see the spirit of entrepreneurship flourish among these students. I've had an opportunity to travel now for a lot of years. They jokingly refer to me as the old man. Recently, when I spoke in Kansas City, a young gal came up to me and said, "Can I have a selfie?" I didn't know what a selfie was. But she got her selfie, and I got a lesson on changes in the technology. So the thing that I got out of Skills USA is that I'm still a pretty good printer, but I've also had an opportunity to travel the world and talk about that American worker and how special that American worker is. You know, we have tough times and we're facing difficult decisions on the world stage now. Man is not on this earth solely for his own happiness. We are here to realize great things for humanity. And I guess the thing that goes back as I look at the organization, I remember one of those individuals at Nashville, the supervisor of trade and industrial education at that time, was a gentleman named Bobby Derryberry. Bobby Derryberry stood up in that hotel and said, "Not armies, not nations have advanced the human race, but here and there in the course of the ages, an individual has stood up and cast his shadow over the world." It is the individual in Skills USA that grows and develops. And you have allowed that to happen in Tennessee, and Tennessee is held up to the nation as the strongest post-secondary program out there. And on behalf of all of those who've come before these students, I just want to say thank you and continue the good work. Thank you.
I know, I think Regent Grissom got a chance to see him, and Regent Reynolds, Bill had in his pocket that two treasures. There were 1967 Polaroid pictures of him in his red jacket one with Senator Howard Baker and the other with Senator Bill Brock. And so, and he doesn't look any different. That name's Bill. He paid me to say that. Okay. I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to allow Bill to come forward and speak, because I think he is a treasure. He gets a chance to speak. He represents the state really well even. And to have the foresight, it was 200 young people in 1965 to an organization that still has the same values today and has grown like it is, and we owe him a lot. But now you've heard Bill and I, but this is what we're all about, is our students. And we have a young man today with us that is our national vice president, and is Mr. Quinnell Neighbors. He's a computer information technology student at the TCAT Ripley. And Quinnell is, I think, achieving a goal of a lifetime of being national vice president. He was elected at this recent conference. This makes our 7th national officer out of 6 years. And these are the type of officer that totally changes lives. So let's welcome Mr. Quinnell Neighbors.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Quinnell Neighbors, the Skills USA College Post-Secondary National Vice President. It is my honor and privilege to speak with you today. Skills USA has allowed countless students tremendous opportunities that would probably not happen otherwise. I have had face-to-face meetings with influential leaders in the nation's capital to discuss career and technical education. I have spoken with Aaron Bays, congressional aide to Representative Stephen Fincher, Mark Price, aide to Senator Bob Corker, and Robert Moran, policy advisor to Senator Lamar Alexander. In addition to this, I have received job offers from prestigious employers, namely Chrysler and FEMA. I'm not alone. Many students have had similar proposals. Jared Sellers from TCAT Harriman has also received an offer from FEMA. Tommy Hatton from TCAT Chattanooga has received an offer from Caterpillar. Tony Hamblin, a former national officer, has received an offer from Russ Hoffmeyer, a business and industry representative for State Farm, who currently sits on the board of directors for Skills USA. Victor Atipo, one of my fellow classmates at TCAT Ripley, received an offer from State Farm himself at last year's national conference in Kansas City. John McKee, another of my classmates, recently received an offer from Cisco Systems at this year's conference. This is not the end of the list. This is merely a sample of the opportunities that Skills USA can provide. Skills USA provides our members with the soft skills that employers are hungry for in today's highly competitive market. We teach our members business etiquette that will be useful during social interaction. We teach interview skills that will help them land the jobs they seek. We teach the importance of punctuality and approachability. We teach parliamentary procedure that shows them how to properly run a business meeting. We hold leadership institutes in Washington, D.C., and right here in the state of Tennessee to help them hone and polish the skills that they already have. Essentially, we strive to make our members as attractive as possible to potential employers. America's skills gap is continuing to grow. Currently, there are approximately 600,000 skilled jobs that go unfilled each year. The average age of the skilled workforce is 56, with workers having 5 to 15 years until retirement. So it is anticipated that we will need 10 million new skilled jobs by 2020. Skills USA is part of the solution to the skills gap, and few people can share the role of Skills USA in closing this gap better than Mike Rowe.
Skills USA has so much value and so much to offer. I could probably talk for an hour about it, but if I only had a minute, which apparently I do, I would just say this. The federal money is all dried up, vocational classes have evaporated from high schools, and somebody has to pick up the slack. Somebody has to come in and celebrate the opportunities that are available and encourage kids to do a very specific kind of job, to explore a very specific kind of career. Nobody else is doing that today. Skills USA is on the front line. They're encouraging soft skills, they're encouraging specific skills, they're encouraging skill in general in the same way that education in general is always encouraged. Skills USA is adding balance into a system right now and a message that's really been unbalanced for a long time. So that's the role of skills. They're the connective tissue in between the opportunities that exist and the hopes that a lot of parents and kids have for their own future. They're making a real difference every single day, day in and day out. They're actually moving the needle in a way that nobody else is, which is pretty cool.
Now, I have the privilege of sharing with you the TCAT report on the 2014 Skills USA National Conference. This has been an exciting year for the Tennessee Colleges of Applied Technology and Tennessee Post-Secondary Skills USA. The TCATs were represented well at the Skills USA National Conference in Kansas City this summer, with over 200 attendees, including competitors, state and national officers, delegates, advisors, administrators, and business and industry guests. During the national conference, 93 TCAT students from across the state entered 62 contests. The Tennessee post-secondary representation shined on awards night, receiving a total of 34 medals, 12 gold, 8 silver, and 14 bronze, and a total of 75 students from the TCAT system placed in the top 10. In addition, Tennessee's 7th consecutive national officer was elected. Beyond the election of officers and competitions, the TCAT's commitment to community service was also recognized with 14 Presidential Volunteer Service Awards, 5 gold, 2 silver, and 7 bronze. We are happy to have many of these dedicated TCAT students with us today. Please stand and be recognized as I call your name or your program. Tennessee College of Applied Technology, Elizabethton, Patricia Henderson, gold. Knoxville Medical Assistant Class also won the gold. Christina Nagy, Jocelyn Van, and Delia Robinson. Skills USA Tennessee Post-Secondary Executive Council also won the gold. Gildor Simplice, TCAT Hohenwald. Jared Sellers, TCAT Harriman. Carla Love, TCAT Harriman. Kelly Horn, TCAT Elizabethton. Patricia Henderson, TCAT Elizabethton. Claire Ballou, TCAT Chattanooga. Brandy Krantz, TCAT Chattanooga. Quinnell Neighbors, TCAT Ripley. Joanne Edley, TCAT Ripley. Boyd Heston, TCAT Knoxville. Shelley Travis, Tennessee Board of Regents. As demonstrated in our performance at Nationals this year, our Skills USA participants are truly champions at work in their technical fields, leadership, and community service. At this time, I would like to recognize our 11 gold medalists that are here today and their advisors. As I call your names, please stand. Gold medalists in Career Pathways, Health Services, Delia Robinson and Jocelyn Van. Their instructor is Christina Nagy and their advisor is Boyd Heston. Gold medalists in Career Pathways, Industrial Engineering Technology, Clark Arrowwood, David Birchfield, Paul Smith, and Ozzie Thompson. Their instructor is John Lee. Gold medalists in Mobile Robotics Technology from TCAT Hohenwald, Kyle Riddle and Robert Layson. Their instructor is Shirley Brown. Gold medalist in Nurse Assisting from TCAT Chattanooga, Christy Hudgens. Christy's instructor is Christy Caves. For the first time ever, we had a dual enrollment and an adult student from the same school winning the same category. Gold medalist in Welding Sculpture, post-secondary from TCAT Oneida, post-secondary John Allen, secondary Zachary Watson. Their instructor is Chris Chambers, and their advisor is Janet Watson. On behalf of all of the Skills USA participants, I would like to say thank you to all of our advisors and instructors. Without your hard work, assistance, and dedication, we would not be in front of the board today. Also, I would like to recognize my advisor and the 2014 Tennessee Skills USA Advisor of the Year, Ms. Joanne Edley. In addition, I would like to thank all of the TCAT directors and the TCAT system office, especially Vice Chancellor James King. Without their support, the success of the statewide Skills USA program would not be possible. Finally, along with the other gold medalists, I would like to thank the Chancellor, Vice Chair, and members of the TCAT committee for their continual support of the Tennessee Colleges of Applied Technology and Skills USA. You are the champions for the TCAT system, and as a token of our appreciation, we would like to make a special presentation to you. Please take a step forward to receive your gold medal when I state your name. After receiving the gold medal, please remain on the stage with the students for a brief photo opportunity. Danny Varlin, Chair, presented by Jocelyn Van. Tom Griscom, presented by Paul Smith and Ozzie Thompson. Barbara Prescott, presented by David Birchfield and Clark Arrowwood. Fran Markham, presented by Robert Lasik. Parker Smith, presented by Kyle Riddle. Dottie Webb, presented by Christy Hudgens.
She's next.
Vice Chair Vice Chair Reynolds, presented by Zachary Watson. And Chancellor Morgan, presented by John Allen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate the opportunity.
Chairman Varlin, in closing, I think you'll see that a lot of good things happening in Tennessee. And also, as we enter the Tennessee Promise and dual enrollment, I think no other organization connects with secondary better than this organization does. You know, when we meet together for the state conference in Chattanooga, these secondary students get to interact with the adult students. You know, as you'll see, the young man that was the dual enrollment student that hung the medal on Regent Reynolds, he won the gold in the sculpture. He is now he graduated high school in May, and he's now continuing his education at the TCAT on out of Huntsville as a result of that. So I think there's a continuous, seamless flow from secondary to post-secondary as we, with the promise and achieves and so many good things going on. This is a natural fit. And so, and Regent Webb, she didn't mention that Regent Webb is considered a specialist in Quiz Bowl competition. She has led 4 teams to the national competition and won 2 gold and 2 silver in her career. So she's, and we're looking for a gold next year. But once again, and I think no one has as many gold medals as Regent Markham. How many do you have now?
I'm so glad you asked, because I'm always so delighted, and I'm so proud of everyone who does this, and I'm so thankful for my gold. And I want you to know that I do not bury it under my mattress or take it to the bank. I display it proudly in my office, and everyone who comes in my office and asks me about my gold, I proudly tell them about the TPACs and the wonderful program, and thank you so much for the opportunity to have this gold and to share it with others. Congratulations to all of you.
Chairman Barland, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor King. And if there's no further business with our committee, we'll be adjourned.
Thank you, Regent Barland. Well done. Regent Markham kind of looked like an Olympic gold medalist there for a second as she raised those medals. So we will now convene the Academic Policies and Programs Committee. So we'll switch out a little here with Regent Thomas to chair, Regent Duckett, Regent Prescott, Regent Reeves will join us at this time, Regent Rhoda, Regent Barland, and Regent Webb.
That's very true. Hides back again. He's back. I want to squish him. He's a cute little fellow. I don't want to squish him.
You are. You're right here. You're right here. While you get settled, I do want to once again acknowledge Regent Reeves, since this is her first full meeting with us. Anything, Rebecca, you would like to add after my introduction of you earlier?
Just that I am very honored to be on this board. I'm very honored to be the liaison between the students and the board, and anything I can do to help the students, I'm just very excited to be here.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Regent Thomas, whenever you are ready, the floor is yours. Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Bob Thomas, Chairman of the Committee on Academic Policies and Programs, and I note that we have a quorum of the committee, so I will bring it to order. We have a very rewarding agenda today, and to begin with, we will call on Vice Chancellor Tristan Denley to make a report on the approval of new degree programs, of which I think there's one. Vice Chancellor Denley.
I think it's one.
Excuse me, it's Vice Chancellor.
Hello, I'm Warren Nichols.
Excuse me.
Chairman Thomas, members of the committee, Chancellor, I'm here to offer one proposal from our community colleges. Cleveland State Community Colleges is proposing to establish an Associate of Applied Science degree in paramedic to be implemented during the spring semester of 2015. The paramedic degree is designed to prepare competent professionals for a career in the field of emergency medical services. The attainment of an AAS in paramedic will prepare our students for entry level as a paramedic and for veteran paramedics who need the degree to advance in the field, such as an EMS instructor in Tennessee. Cleveland State has offered the EMT certificate programs for a number of years and has been urged by its advisory board to establish this degree program. The advisory board is made up of service providers from Monroe, Meigs, McMinn, Bradley, and Polk counties. The proposed program requires 60 semester credit hours, which are the 43 credit hours required in the paramedic certificate program, and 17 credit hours of general education courses added to complete that degree. The curriculum is the same as that which has been adopted by the Board of Regents statewide curriculum committee for EMT, AEMT, and paramedic programs, and complies with recent changes for licensure through the State of Tennessee Office of Emergency Services. Cleveland State currently employs 2 full-time instructors who meet the college and state EMS requirements. The program has access to a local pool of appropriately qualified adjunct instructors, and there will be no new state funding needed to support this proposed program. Cleveland State anticipates graduating 12 students the second year of the program and then maintaining approximately 20 students annually thereafter. So, Chairman Thomas, at the appropriate time, the proposal has been reviewed by our staff, and we would recommend board approval of this program.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Nichols. Are there any questions of the Vice Chancellor's report? If not, I'll entertain a motion. This requires a voice vote, a motion to approve the approval of this program.
So moved.
Motion made by Regent Varlin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Regent Duckett. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Vice
Thank you.
Chancellor Nichols, and pardon me for the lack of the faulty introduction.
Tristan and I look so much alike.
You sound even more alike.
Now, I will call on Vice Chancellor Tristan Denley for what I consider to be a very good report, and we all look forward to receiving it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chairman, members of the board. So it's my pleasure to bring several reports and updates this afternoon about academic affairs. First thing I wanted to begin with was a report on our annual accreditation. Clearly, our schools are involved in a wide variety of accreditation activities, ranging from institutional all the way down to program. And this is really very important work. As many of you know, we are highly involved in performance-based funding here in our state. And so making sure that we also, as well as that, keep a close eye on quality and academic rigor of all of our programs, this is very important work. So this report really summarizes an enormous amount of work that's happened across all of our programs during this last year, and is ongoing work, as you'll see, during this coming year too. So during the last year, East Tennessee State University on an institutional level was re-accredited by SAC-COC. Austin Peay State University had both their off-site and their on-site visit, and they will have a decision from SAC-COC this coming December at their winter meeting. And several other schools were involved in 5-year reports and other activities. Schools have to inform SACs if there are substantive changes to programs or they're beginning significant new initiatives, and so those are the kinds of activities that are listed there. Several of our schools are involved in those same kinds of off-site and on-site visits this coming year. At Cleveland State Community College, at the summer meeting of SAC-COC, they requested from Cleveland an ongoing monitoring report. So rather than reaffirming them at that meeting, they asked for some more information during this coming year. That report will be, is being prepared during this year, will be submitted in April, and then will be reviewed at SAC-COC's summer meeting in June. And as you see, there were several other community colleges that were also involved in institutional level accreditation proceedings. Moving on to the program accreditation. So altogether, we have over 400 programs in the system that are accredited on a programmatic level. If it is the case that there is a program level accreditation that is available to a program, then we request that program to either have that accreditation or be involved in pursuing that accreditation. And so there are, as I say, well over 400 programs that are involved in that endeavor, and actually all but 2 of our programs either are successfully accredited or are at the present involved in some form of reaccreditation or obtaining that accreditation. And you can see that that involves well over almost 300 programs at the university level and 150 programs at the community college level. That really involves an enormous amount of work across the systems in creating self-studies, in hosting on-site visits by various external groups, but it's exactly that work which really is an ongoing endeavor for us to work on the quality of the programs. Thank you. So you can see that involved 130 such visits over the last year, and there are 44 programs that did in fact receive official notice of reapproval. The others, as you might imagine, those approvals almost always happen at some official convening of that accreditation body. Those happen at various times during the year, and so there are some people who are excitedly waiting the news from those different bodies, and we anticipate that to come. As well as that program accreditation that happens through professional organizations across the United States, we also, within our system, have program reviews and academic audits. And there's an enormous amount of work that also goes into those. Those are our way to work with programs that are not, where there isn't a, let's say, a professional body or some other form of accreditation that's available to those. It tends to be the case that those very much are liberal arts kinds of programs, although not exclusively. And so you can see that there were 34 academic audits that were carried out this last year and 28 program reviews. Those reviews, again, require very significant self-studies by those programs. They have faculty from across the state and sometimes outside the state who visit those campuses, review those curricula, talk with the students, talk with the faculty, and really give us sort of a top-to-bottom review of how those programs are, how they fit with modern scholarship, and also how they fit with potential employers' needs and industrial viewpoints. So this is extremely important work. Any questions about any of that, any of the accreditation work?
Are there any questions? I would just like to add that I've had the privilege and pleasure of participating on some of these campus visits by the accreditation agencies, and what he has covered, what Vice Chancellor Denley has covered here in about a 7-minute report does not begin to pay justice to the effort that goes into these visits, but more importantly to the success rate of our system. And sure. I have nothing really to compare it to, but I bet few other systems can rank as high as we do in the number of approvals of all of our, of 300 plus 130, 450 or so programs in both our universities and our colleges. So congratulations to you, Vice Chancellor Denley, for overseeing this operation. And once again, does anybody have any questions on this really magnificent report?
Well, thank you. Yeah, the oversight is the easy part, I think. Many of these reports run to thousands or perhaps tens of thousands of pages, so they really are an
The amount
enormous
of work that
enormous
goes into
undertaking.
each one of them by the institutions is really remarkable.
Really are. Well, thank you. Moving on to the next phase of the reports, I have a preliminary fall enrollment report to show where we are as far as this year's fall enrollment. It still is preliminary, largely because actually at Austin Peay State University, we do not yet know the enrollment for the fall 2 semester. We won't know that until, I guess, midway through October. And so the absolute final numbers will have to wait until then, and I'll be happy to give you an update for that in the meeting in December. But the numbers that we already have really very much carry the flavor, and so I wanted to show you how those were playing out. So first of all, this is a picture of the sort of the longitudinal picture of the way that enrollment has unfolded in our system really over the last 5 or 6 years. And I wanted to show you that. You can see that this year we are a little down. We are down by about 2% of the universities, by about 4% of the community colleges, and that translates overall into about a 3% decline over last year's enrollment. And so it is the case that the system enrollment is down, and that is part of an arching picture. And I want to sort of at least give some idea as to why it is that picture is the way that it is, that it doesn't perhaps convey the way that it will be, but it at least says something about the way that it is. As you saw in those of you who were here during the summer, the picture of graduations is completely different. The picture for graduations is a steadily inclining chart, and so despite the fact that our enrollments are going like this, we have so many initiatives in place to try to improve the success of our students that the graduation picture, the picture of how many students are actually completing their degree programs, doesn't look like that at all. And so that's at least part of the picture I want you to have in your head. But I do want to show you some of the elements that are going into that enrollment trend. So first of all, adult students. Adults, at least in this picture, are students who are over the age of 25. That's just the normal definition that we used for adult students, non-traditional students perhaps sometimes. And you can see that over that same time period, we've seen a very significant increase and decrease in our enrollments for adult students. It's often the case that people mention that enrollments at universities and community colleges, especially community colleges, so-called counter-cyclical. That as the economy is doing better, so people don't necessarily turn up in quite the same numbers as the economy turns in the other direction, so people flock towards community colleges and universities. And you can see that exactly that happened as far as we were concerned, that during the dark times of the last recession, I'm assuming that now we are in lighter times, but they were certainly dark times, that we can really see that there was a very significant increase in the number of adults that came to our system. And you can see that as we are tailing out of that, and that I've compared this against unemployment rates here in Tennessee, as unemployment rates are improving, so perhaps it's less attractive for adults to come back to our institutions. What we do know is that to reach the drive to 55 targets that our state has undertaken, it is precisely this population that we really need to make significant inroads with. And there are a number of initiatives that are actually undergoing to change this trajectory, but this has been the trajectory up until now. And so you can see that's that arching picture. Also wanted to show you the same picture for high school graduates, for incoming freshmen. Again, for incoming freshmen, you can see that there was that same kind of arching picture. It's not quite so pronounced. The number of high school freshmen who, or high school seniors, graduating high school seniors who enter our schools as freshmen is, as you might imagine, very strongly connected to just how many of them there are. And how many of them there are is just simply a function of Tennessee's demographics. So that size of the graduating class is certainly quite a volatile number. And it was much smaller back in the the mid part of the last decade, and then peaked right around 2010, and has now kind of taken a little bit of a downturn. The picture will actually turn back up over the next 2 or 3 years, and then will plateau again. What's quite interesting, more difficult to tease out from the picture, but the proportion. One of the questions that came up at an earlier meeting was what kind of penetration do we have into that population? So actually, historically, over the last decade, we have attracted right around 47% of Tennessee's high school graduates into our system. So back there in 2007, 2008, that proportion is right around 47%. In the years 2009, 10, 11, 12, that proportion skyrocketed. As you might imagine, again, when the economy turns down, it's much more attractive to go and to be part of higher education. We want it to be attractive all the time, but it's certainly more attractive at that point. That proportion increased to well over 50% in those years, 2009, 2010, and then gradually began to decline again. We're now back to right around 47% once again. One of the things that will be a constant theme throughout this meeting is the influence of the Tennessee Promise. We anticipate that the Tennessee Promise will change that proportion quite significantly, but it is the case right now that those 2013 and 14 numbers, we're back to much the same kind of penetration proportion of right around 47% that we saw back in 2007 and 8. But by now you've kind of picked up on the idea that in the middle, in the intervening years around 2009, 10, 11, that large swell of the population, well, as those students move through the university and community college populations, as they move through, so they're replaced each year by a smaller class than they were themselves. And so if we look at our populations class by class, then you can see that there is that trend, that each year, each class is replaced by a class that's correspondingly smaller, just because of the fact that we're on the other side of that enrollment peak. And that's true at the universities, and it's also true at the community colleges as well. So in that sense, this trend that we're seeing, it isn't an isolated trend. It's simply a product of the history that we've been through. There are a number of initiatives that are playing out at both community colleges and at universities, and I know President Wise and President Glover will talk about that tomorrow in their report. But it is the case that what we can see is that our incoming classes this year have sort of begun to turn that trend around. So our incoming classes this year are in general not smaller than the previous year, but have leveled out. So in that sense, over the long term, we're expecting our populations to increase, but it'll take a few years for it to play its way out. The other confounding variable here is, as I mentioned, we are seeing increased success in graduations. So all of our schools have many initiatives in place to help more students graduate in greater numbers. Well, of course, it's the case that as they graduate, well, then they're no longer part of the population. And so there are goodly numbers of students who, without those initiatives, would currently be walking around on campuses still being part of their programs. Now they've graduated, and so the fact that they're not part of our population is actually a good thing. But because of the fact that we've been graduating them in increasing numbers, that's also a sort of a downward pressure on the overall system population. So that's the picture of our enrollments. I know that Vice Chancellor Thompson tomorrow will talk about how our overall pictures for graduations will fit with our strategic planning, but this is at least some context as to how that population is unfolding. Be happy to answer any questions about.
Any questions of Dr. Denley on this very informative report? And some of it encouraging, some of it not. Graduation rates are certainly encouraging.
Agreed. It's clear that I would much rather have said that we were up by 3%, but being down by 3% for a good reason is at least a little bit better.
All right, the last item on the agenda is a report by Dr. Denley on academic affairs initiatives. And incidentally, these last three reports are for information only, so we don't have any vote on it. But Dr. Denley.
So one of the things that I wanted to do over the next few meetings was really to try to introduce a number of academic initiatives that are underway, just so that you could get a flavor of some of the things that are happening across the system on a broad scale. So the first of those is really the culmination of a number of years' work as part of our education program. We have, as a system, been undertaking a system-wide transformation in the training of our teachers through the colleges of education. And that program is now called Ready to Teach. And it began actually a number of years ago, was actually begun by my predecessor, Dr. Short, and has now been completely implemented. And really the sort of the basic idea behind that change was that we wanted to introduce a program to ensure that the teachers were ready to teach on day one, hence the name. That when teachers graduate from our programs and then go out into schools, that when classes begin, they're ready to go. They're not learning the job, they're ready to do the job. And so you can imagine that involved a significant amount of rethinking about the structure of the curriculum, the way that it would be unfurled. And perhaps the largest change is that now at our 6 universities in that 4-year program, in that last year, those students spend the entirety of that last year in a school. That it is a clinical placement type model, as you might see perhaps in a medical field. That those teachers spend that entire year, they're still learning educational content and some of the content from their particular discipline, but they're doing that in the context of a classroom. And they're doing it in the context of co-teaching with a master teacher that is in that school, be that in elementary, middle school, or high school. And they're doing it in an environment where we are assessing them in a very broad manner. That it was the case that we very much concentrated our assessment of them on the grades that they got in their classes. Of course, grades that they get in their classes are still crucial, but it is now the case that they actually have a very holistic assessment. There's video footage that's taken. They prepare a very significant portfolio of the work, the planning, the curriculum that they are working with, and all of that goes into the judgment of whether or not they are ready to graduate. And then we use that assessment on an ongoing basis to continue to improve the quality of instruction and the ways in which the program unfurls. So this year, the assessment that we did, actually this summer saw the first graduating class out of this new format. And so last year we did a very in-depth assessment of the structure of the way in which that graduating class was instructed. This year we did a very detailed study of working with the partnership schools, understanding how each of the high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools, how were they understanding how this was working? How was that co-teaching working for them? In this environment for them, student success is extraordinarily important for them, just as it is for us. Are there ways in which we can understand how their students are succeeding in greater numbers because of the involvement of this new kind of curriculum that we're unfurling? On an ongoing basis, we will be able to partner with the State Board of Education to actually take data from teachers who are in the schools and then pair that with data that we collected about how it was that they went through this program. So we will be able to close the loop, if you like, on how they were prepared and how effective teachers they were when they actually went into the classroom. So that's the sort of flavor of the Ready to Teach program. One of the things that I wanted to unveil today is a brand new website for the Ready to Teach program. And really the idea behind that website is really to try to carry the message of the significant amount of work that's been done in this program. And so the URL is easy to remember. It's Ready to Teach, and I encourage you to go and explore it later. I just wanted to at least give you the highlights of that this afternoon, and also wanted to thank the Business Media Center at Tennessee Tech, who were our partners in creating this, together with the education deans. The way this website is now set up is really to answer 4 basic questions to 4 basic audiences, if you like. The first is for aspirant teachers. If you're thinking about becoming a teacher, why should you come to us? Why come to a Tennessee Board of Regents institution as opposed to all of the other possibilities that exist for you? And so that's this basic why teach? Why do you want a clinically focused undergraduate program? Why do you want to go through this? And so you can see that for each of those each of these questions, we actually have a number of video footage from students who have been through our program that really give answers to that question from a number of different perspectives. And I'll at least play one of those so you can get the flavor of that.
Graduating from this Ready to Teach program, it really has prepared me as a teacher of how I am evaluated. The way that we were evaluated in the program is very similar to the way that we are evaluated as a teacher. So they kind of align. We are evaluated based on the team rubric in Clarkson-Montgomery County. And so, there's different rubrics. There's a planning rubric, an instruction rubric, an environment rubric. And so we are evaluated on all of those things. And also in the Ready to Teach program, that is what you're evaluated on. So they kind of aligned with each other. So I didn't feel as stressed out coming in as a first-year teacher. I mean, of course I was stressed out because it's my own class, it's my first year, but I also felt like I've already done this once, and it wasn't the same, but it was very similar. So, but as far as like performance-based, I mean, it's all about when they walk in your room, what are you doing? At any time of the day, they look at all three of those rubrics and they watch and they observe and they see, where do you fall? And it ranges, from a 1 to a 5, 5 being where you want to be. Are you doing what you need to be? And we always say we want to be a 5 teacher, on the team. You want to be a 5 teacher. So are you a 5 teacher all day, every day? And I think in the Ready to Teach program, it has made me self-aware. I'm able to self-reflect, am I a 5 teacher all day, every day? I think the hardest things that teachers struggle with is on the instruction rubric, questioning, assessment. And I know that when I was in the Ready to Teach program, that is something that my professors looked for. What kind of questions was I asking? How was I assessing that they've mastered or not mastered what I just taught? How was I able to manage everybody else, everybody in the class while I was doing a small group or while I was handling a situation over here? So I feel like what they expected in the Ready to Teach was what they expect when I come into my own classroom.
So as I said, she was ready to teach the first day, not immune to stressing out. So it's also the case that as well as the videos, there is some data on each of these pages. So actually this is data that really shows the scope of the program. As you can see, students from Tennessee Board of Regents last year were partnering with schools in basically every county in Tennessee. And you can click on each of these schools and see where it is that these different programs which school districts they were working with. And then the last feature of each of the pages is actually a timeline that shows really how that feature unfolds. And so for this particular feature, this is about students who want to know, well, what's this program like? It shows them, though, over a 4-year period, what's involved in my becoming a teacher? What are the different milestones that I will now go through as I go through this Ready to Teach program? And if you click on each of those links, then there's very significant resources that tell you about each of those different pieces. That's the sort of common theme through the website. The 4 basic audiences, if you like, are, well, first of all, these aspirant teachers. Why should you come to us? Why partner? Trying to explain to school districts, why would you work with us? And so if you click onto that part of the website, it shows you data about the success of this program, the ways in which the partnership with our program is helping success in those schools. Similarly, why mentor? Why mentor focuses on why would you be a mentor? Maybe I'll click on that and it can be coming up while I talk. We are lucky enough to have some really extraordinary mentor teachers that are part of the program, and so the data there is really to show the seniority of the people who are involved in this. These are not brand new teachers who are working with our aspirant teachers. These are people who are extraordinarily seasoned professionals, and one of the things that we're already beginning to see is that this program will actually have one of the features of the program will be that it improves on an ongoing basis, the retention of teachers actually in the profession. It's one thing to graduate teachers, it's another for them to get jobs as teachers in schools, it's yet another for them to actually stay in schools and continue to be teachers. And so this is one of the features we really wanted to focus on. And then the last is why ready to teach? And really that is a tab for the general public, for the legislature, for yourselves to understand, yeah, so what is this program? Why all the fuss? Why all the effort? What were the features of this that I should really pay attention to? What's the interaction with the community college setting? What are the features of the program that we should really be paying attention to? And again, there the data actually shows the breadth of the impact of the Tennessee Board of Regents to teaching in the state. You can see that on an annual basis, roughly 5,000 students graduate as new teachers across the state. Over 2,000 of those teachers come from this system. And so, roughly 2/5 of the new teachers each year come from our system, which is a substantial impact on the overall teaching profession across the state. So I encourage you to go and look at this resource. It, of course, is a living document, and so the materials that are there today, they will continue to unfold as we create more data that tries to make the link between the program and its successes. Then we'll be displaying those there, and similarly, as we get more video footage from the students and from partners and mentors, then we will also post that there. Any questions about Ready to Teach?
Thank you, Dr. Denley. Any questions on this report? I hope we'll all follow through on this resource. I may need a little help myself getting into it, but other than that, well, I'll make every effort.
I'm happy to help.
Anything else to come before this committee?
I think he's got one more thing.
I do. I have a couple more items to show you.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The next is actually perhaps changing pace a little, and that is to move to research. We've talked much about student success and about graduation. We don't focus so much on the research that happens in our system, but as you might imagine, there is a very substantial amount of research that happens both at the community colleges and at the universities, both as part of the academic life of our faculty, but also together with students, both at the graduate level and at the undergraduate level. And so this Critical Conversations initiative is really an all-embracing initiative to try to raise the level of awareness of the research activity across the system. This has been ongoing for about a year so far. And the sort of the full fruits of it, I want to wait until December to unveil. But I do want to at least unveil today a brand new journal, which will be published from the Tennessee Board of Regents. It's called Critical Conversations, and the journal is a multidisciplinary journal that really will focus on interdisciplinary research that happens across the system, interdisciplinary research that involves undergraduates, graduate students, professionals, and also the ways in which that research interacts with the worlds outside. And so I wanted to at least unveil just a glimpse of what that journal looks like. It will not be a physical journal, it will be a digital journal. So it will be published in a digital format, and this is the way that it will look. And it will have 3 issues each year. One of those issues will be an invitation issue, which will be on a specific theme. And then the other 2 issues will be a general issue. All of those issues are actually peer-reviewed journals, so even the invited ones also get reviewed and are also part of the reviewing process. But the invited ones are then on a specific theme. This first inaugural edition, the specific theme focused literally on interdisciplinary research that involves undergraduates and graduate students. How is it that the academic research that happens for faculty and how it involves our students, how is that successful for all involved, and how do we as a system also receive success from that? So you can see this is the way the journal will be. I did want to make special mention of the editorial board, because it really is the case that this initiative is a completely cross-system endeavor. Dr. Knox in my office has been the inaugural senior editor, but she has been really very ably assisted by a group of faculty from all across the system. And you can see that both universities and community colleges are involved in this process. And it really has been a very rewarding experience to get this journal off the ground and to have that, to have those conversations. Sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'd note that one of the names on the editorial board, as you see, is Jasmine Renner, who is one of our fellows. So,
and you will see the fruit of Jasmine's work. Well, if you haven't, I encourage you to look at her project as part of the Maxine Smith Fellows program. As in fact, I encourage you to look at all of the projects because they really are quite wonderful this year, as they always are. But the fruit of her labor will be part of something that I will show you in December. So, but I really do very much want to thank the efforts of the editorial board. As you imagine, getting a journal off the ground is a very significant amount of work. But it's also the case that it's very important for this to be something which is owned by the system as a system. It's something for us to begin this as a sort of a spark from the system office. It's something completely else for it to be adopted as a system and have its own life. And so that editorial board is a very important part of that. Last item that I wanted to show you is actually about something that's happening right now in our classrooms, and that is a course redesign, course revitalization initiative. Across our system, we teach each semester roughly 8,000 courses, and that's important. With the diversity of programming that happens in the Tennessee Board of Regents is probably more diverse than in any other system in the nation. And so this is certainly not a case to say we should have fewer than 8,000 courses. We probably should have more than 8,000. But despite the fact that we have 8,000 courses being taught to roughly 1 million headcount, more than half of that enrollment is in 30 courses. So our enrollment is extraordinarily concentrated. So more than 500,000 students in 30 particular courses. Of course, many sections of those courses. We don't have 100,000 students in one section. That would be quite an interesting endeavor, but not that. And so you can imagine that these particular 30 courses play an inordinately important role in the success of our students. They tend to be courses which are right at the very beginning of their studies, and so the successes that they earn in those courses go on to lead to further successes, and their lack of success in those courses and in the end tend to lead to them not doing so well and dropping out. Now you know that there are 30, you can probably readily imagine what those 30 are, that they're very much those introductory kinds of classes in sciences and in reading and writing and history and mathematics, and so they really are the sort of the curricular building blocks of everything that we do. What we have going on right now is the fruits of a request for proposals that was launched in my office about a year ago, asking for teams of faculty to step forward to re-envisage the way in which they would teach these classes on their campus, to engage with new kinds of pedagogies, flipping the classrooms, hybrid kinds of models, using technologies in innovative kinds of ways. As I say, teams of faculty, not individual faculty, because teaching these kinds of classes is a team endeavor. There may be 20, 30, 50 parallel sections of each of these classes, and so working as a team really opens the doors to different kinds of teaching models that haven't necessarily been part of our practice so far. I'm happy to tell you that I had 120 teams of faculty that stepped forward. From those, we chose 56 projects to move forward, and right now there are well over 160 faculty who are involved in the work of, they've been involved in the work of creating those new models. Now they're piloting those programs on our campuses. Actually, essentially every institution in the system is involved in at least one of those revitalization initiatives right now. So come the fall, by the end of the fall, we will have very significant data about how successful each of those pilots were. they are pilots. We are asking our faculty to step out and be innovative, try things that haven't been tried before. And so it would be astonishing if all of those things work. I'm perfectly happy if they do, but I also understand that reality means that probably some of those things will not work. And so we will learn from the things that don't work, just as we learn from the things that do. But we will also be looking to take those pilots and scale them up across entire courses at each institution when we find things that really do significantly move the needle on student success. So as I say, this is an ongoing endeavor, but I wanted to let you know of that kind of innovation that's happening at all of our institutions. And again, this is a spark from the system office supporting very significant endeavors happening at all of our institutions. Be happy to answer any questions about that, but if not, that ends my presentation for today.
Any questions of Dr. Denley? Yes.
Yes, will this include developmental courses or in this?
So actually, some of these proposals were involved in what we're calling a co-requisite redesign. So there are, I believe, 20 of these 56 are in mathematics or writing, and each of those proposals do actually involve as well a co-requisite approach to remediation. But as well as these proposals, there are, and I don't remember the exact number, but lots and lots of pilot programs that are exploring this co-requisite remediation happening at all of our schools this fall. Yeah, so some are. Sorry.
Thank you, Regent Reeves. Any other questions of Dr. Denley? I do believe this now does conclude your report.
It does, sir.
And that being the case, if there's no further business to come before the committee, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Regent Thomas. Thank you, Vice Chancellor Denley. And don't you go too far, because I think you may be, you back up? No. Okay. On our next committee meeting. No, that was very valuable information. It's great to know from an academic perspective what's happening in the system, what our enrollments look like. So, and very good groundwork, as you mentioned, for tomorrow's discussion on the Tennessee Promise. So, well done. At this time, could I have the Personnel and Compensation Committee, Regent Roddy as chairman, Regent Freeman, Regent Markham, Regent Shockey, Regent Smith, and Regent Varlin. Okay. Oh, ask the chairs? Okay. Do you, where'd you put Lee? Okay. Thank you. There you are. Hey.
Maybe a little notebook.
Oh, very good. Regent Roddy, before you call your committee meeting to order, I just want to once again officially welcome Regent Shockey. As she gets settled there, say welcome. And is there anything else you'd like to share about yourself to the crew?
I think you've said enough.
All right, thank you. So we appreciate your talent and expertise. This is exciting to have you. So,
Wait on you. Okay.
so whenever you're organized. For our committee chairs, as we complete the afternoon, Sanja has asked me to make sure that we make note of who's making the motion and seconds so that they can catch it accurately for our minutes. Just a little housekeeping matter.
I would say that when I
We're good. We'll figure it out. Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Let's see if we got a quorum. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, yeah, you're good. You've got everybody but one. Yep.
Detecting the presence of a quorum, I'm calling the Committee on Personnel and Compensation of the Tennessee Board of Regents to order. The first item on our agenda is the consent agenda. The committee has previously reviewed the following items. A, tenure upon appointment at universities and community colleges. B, proposed revisions to TBR policy sick leave 5-01-01-09. And C, faculty promotion addendum. Materials presented under consent agenda have been provided to all members of the board. After a review of these materials, does anyone see any reason to remove a particular item from the consent agenda for further, or is it just for tomorrow, or do we do this? Yeah, that's today.
Exactly.
That's right. Does anyone see cause to remove a particular item out from the consent agenda for further discussion and action?
Nope. I think you're good.
All right, hearing none. Let's see. We will proceed with a motion to accept these items under the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion from Regent Varlin,
Second.
and I just got a second from Regent Markham. Want to thank both of you for your motions. Having a motion and a second, if there is no further discussion, this item requires a roll call vote. Madam Secretary.
Regent Freeman,
Yes.
Regent Markham,
Aye.
Regent Roddy,
Aye.
Regent Shockey. Aye. Regent Smith,
Aye.
Regent Varlin.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you. As a second item, the committee will review and consider the institutional compensation proposals for 2 universities and 8 community colleges. The committee will hear a presentation and act upon the plans as a group. At this point, I'll call upon Vice Chancellor Dale Sims, and here he is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the committee. It's a pleasure to be here today. As the chairman noted, we'll be considering several compensation requests from institutions. As background, each of you probably understand that under board policy, institutions are required to maintain a compensation plan that has been approved by the board. These plans are designed to establish where positions should be compensated in relation to the market for like positions at similar institutions. So that is essentially the basis for the adjustments that we're considering today. We have as a system an annual calendar, so to speak, where the September board meeting is where we ask institutions if they are requesting adjustments to bring those adjustments forward. They're reviewed by the system office staff and then presented to the committee for its consideration. These plans that are before you today were submitted by institutions as a result of a request in July. In summary, we do have, as the chairman noted, 10 plans. Universities, we have 2 institutions that have requested authority to make adjustments. We have 8 community colleges. The system office and the technology, colleges of applied technology did not request adjustments this year. Total adjustments are about $4.3 million, just a little over $4.3 million. In terms of total system payroll of a little under $950 million, we're about 0.4% increase in terms of a $4 million adjustment at these institutions. Just at a high level in terms of distribution by type of employee or worker or associate, the vast majority of this money is proposed to go to faculty members, a little over $2.3 million, with professionals receiving about $829,000 as a classification. $794,000 for clerical support, and $300,000 for administrators. What we'll follow with is a series of graphs that will show you by function and by classification of employee how these funds are proposed to be distributed. This first chart is our universities, the 2 universities that requested adjustments. The first bar is the instruction function, which is direct classroom instruction activities, personnel involved in that. I would take you over to the 5th bar, the subtotal on academic. This incorporates basically the core academic functions of the institution, that being instruction, research, public service, and academic support activities. You can see at the universities, clearly the lion's share of what's proposed is being driven into those classifications or those job functions, over 60%, I should say. Similar chart for community colleges, not as consistent as it is in the university sector, but again, the largest share going to that instruction function as a group. The subtotal for academic areas is again over 70%, about 74% on average. Next chart is by distribution by classification. Again, talking about faculty, again, the lion's share of this money being driven to faculty salaries, with a smaller share to administration, professional, and clerical support are receiving a share of this as well. I should say that one of the features I should have mentioned earlier, when we look at our comp plans, distribution of this money in large respect relates to how money has been distributed in the past. What you're seeing, particularly with the clerical and professional areas at the universities and community colleges, is an effort by the institutions making this request to bring individuals up to the minimum salary for the job classification. So when you see that the adjustment in clerical appears to be a disproportionate share of this money, it's largely because there are substantial numbers of employees in those classifications, and in many cases we're trying to move them to the minimum salary for the position. The last chart is, again, the picture for community colleges. Again, faculty, primary recipients in terms of the target for this money, although you'll see that in the professional and clerical categories that we do have a few institutions where they have targeted their clerical support and professional positions for adjustments. The action that staff is recommending, we've reviewed the plans, feel the plans are appropriate, consistent with their compensation plans that the board has previously approved. There are 2 items that I think are worth noting. We have 2 institutions that had, I'll call it, contingencies. An example is Austin P, where a good bit of their enrollment, or a share of their enrollment, arises from Fort Campbell, where that enrollment is not known until October. So they would like the ability to have the opportunity to make adjustments, but they don't want action today to bind them to a plan that they maybe can't afford, depending on what that enrollment is. Roane State is in a similar situation for a different reason. Recommendation that staff would have would be to approve the plans as submitted.